Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire and motivate you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Visit cyacyl.com.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. Good day, sunshine. Raindrops keep falling on my head. For many people, the weather sets the tone for their moods, and it's a major factor in how their day will play out. It's a conversation starter when there's nothing else to say. There's so much interest in the weather that it's often the first thing people want to know before checking out the news, and there are media outlets dedicated exclusively to weather forecasts. I wanted to do a show about weather and how it impacts our well-being, so who better to have on as a guest than Bill Evans? Bill's won multiple Emmy Awards for his work as Senior Meteorologist on New York's WABC. He's also seen on Good Morning America and can be heard nationally on the ABC Radio Network, Martha Stewart Living Radio, ESPN Radio, and New York's WPLJ. According to ABC News Chief Political Correspondent George Stephanopoulos, no one knows bad weather better than Bill Evans. Bill's a New York Times bestselling author whose latest book is entitled It's Raining Fish and Spiders. Welcome, Bill. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Joan, for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You know, Bill, for me, you are the weather guy. I grew up in New Jersey, and I watch you all the time on ABC, and I listen to you on Scott and Todd in the morning. So to do a show about weather, there's no other choice but you. So thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I've been doing weather since I was 13 years old. I started in radio, started on television when I was 17, went to meteorology school. So this is my 35th year. So I haven't worked a day in my life, Joan. I love doing the weather.
Well, you know, and your passion and your love for what you do, it really shows through. I mean, you make any forecast exciting.
We try to do our best, and what I tried to do was fold this into a book for kids. You know, as you mentioned, I've written 4 novels. They're bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list. They're fiction weather novels. But I wanted to write a book for kids and make it very funny, entertaining, but yet educational at the same time. And that's why I wrote this book, which is called It's Raining Fish and Spiders. And the reason why I titled it that is because about 100 times a year in the United States, something falls from the sky from a thunderstorm. It can be fish, frogs, it can be tadpoles, it can be chickens, it can be screws, nails, bolts, nuts, all sorts of stuff that thunderstorms pick up when they go over a certain area. Either the straight-line winds, the derecho winds, or the tornado picks it up, carries it miles away, and then drops it on some unsuspecting spot. And so that happens 100 times a year in the United States around the area. So I wanted to write a book that was entertaining and funny, focused on that, and talks about how you make tornadoes, how thunderstorms work, all that sort of stuff. And as a matter of fact, it's got pictures and graphics and all sorts of fun stuff in the book. And like I said, we like to educate through entertainment.
I want to back up for a moment because you just said that you haven't worked a day in your life. And when you open your book, you said that I haven't had a bad day since the doctor slapped me on the behind. Bill, how do you maintain such a positive attitude? I mean, you're in a tough business.
It is a tough business, and I started in the last market in the United States, and I worked all the way to the first market in the United States to the #1 television station in the country. And I think part of that is your attitude. I think part of it is persistence, and I think part of it is hard work. And a little bit of luck thrown in there, too. But, you know, Joan, luck is preparation meets opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I've always had a very, wonderful outlook on life. I got into a business and a career that I wanted to be in from day one. I didn't care what the money was going to be like. I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I loved broadcasting and because I loved weather, and I wanted to help people. I grew up with parents that were in clergy. My mother and my father were in clergy. She was a minister of music. My father was a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor. My great-grandfather was a pastor. I always wanted to just be in a business where I could help people. I didn't feel the calling to be in clergy, but I did feel the calling to be a public servant, and that's what I am in weather, is helping people, and my career runs the gambit. My job runs the gambit from telling people, here's how you need to dress today, to here's what you need to do from getting yourself killed or injured later today. So that's the type of, length and breadth of my job as it goes from day to day.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, because when you follow your passion and you're doing something that you really enjoy and love, the success, the accolades, everything else, it will follow if that's not your main purpose in life.
Well, I think I always tell my interns, you do a good job, you work hard, you do what your boss says, you keep your head down, and you stay above the fray. And if you can do all of those things, the success will come to you. If you just work hard and do a great job at what you do, and you're not envious of what the other person has or what the other person makes, and you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else and what they're doing, you're never going to be happy, and then you're going to develop a terrible attitude, and that's going to carry over to everything in your life. You get the bad serum flowing, and then there goes your health. So I've always been very healthy, been very active, and I always take good care of my body and exercise and eat the right things because I'm on such a wacky schedule. My day, Joan, starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at about 7 o'clock at night, sometimes 6 o'clock at night. And to do this job, that's kind of the only downside of my job is that I get up so early in the morning. But I have a wonderful job where you're on top of every snowstorm, blizzard, hurricane, all that sort of thing, and you're helping people. And so that's my reward for doing this job. And I think all of that stems from having a great outlook on life and picking the career choice that's good for you. If you wanted to make money and you don't care how you make it, you're probably going to have to make some unhappy choices as to what you do for a career in life. But I think if you look at it from the aspect of I really want to do this, I don't care what the money is, this is what's going to make me happy for a career, I think you're going to be happy and never work a day in your life.
Bill, I don't have any scientific data about weather and our attitude. I mean, we know about seasonal affective disorder, but have you ever read any studies about the subject, the impact of attitude in our physical well-being or emotional well-being?
Well, I think that, weather certainly plays to a part of that. I think a lot of rainy days and things do get people down. Low pressure tends to make people very loosey-goosey and a little bit more so on the depressed side. High pressure for an individual, a brand new high pressure ridge comes in. A lot of people suffer from migraines from the air pressure going way up. And that puts a lot of stress in people's lives. But I just do know that for myself personally, if you have a good attitude, you're going to really enjoy life. I look at it from this, either you eat up life or life eats you up. And so I think it has a lot to do with your temperament and your health, all depending on your attitude, being able to laugh a lot and enjoy life and surround yourself with good people. All of that, I think, is very good for your body and for your mental state.
Bill, in your new book, It's Raining Fish and Spiders, you provide information and fun facts about weather events. And you had mentioned tornadoes before. And I'd like to talk about those, if we could start off there, because they occur in certain parts of the country. And here on the East Coast, in the New York area, it seems like we've been experiencing more of them in recent years. Is that true? And why don't we have them more often here? Why are they mostly out west?
Well, the reason why they're in an area called Tornado Alley, which really ranges from about southern Michigan across the Ohio Valley to the Midwest, to the central and southern plain states, to the lee side of the Rocky Mountains out west, is because of geography. There are more tornadoes in the United States than any other place in the world. We have 500 to 1,000 of them every year. And the reason why is because of geography. You take the cool air out of Canada that comes across the northern plains, it collides with warm, steamy air from the Gulf of Mexico, and that hits right in the midsection of the United States. And then you put on top of that the jet stream. So you have those three ingredients together. The jet stream enhances these thunderstorms across the central portion of the country and creates the tornadic activity that comes with them. These storms tower into the atmosphere in a supercell up to 55,000, 60,000 feet. Now, we're seeing a weather pattern right now that takes us back to the time of the Dust Bowl days. Weather repeats itself. We call that climatology. So we're seeing weather now from the 30s and the 40s across much of the United States, whereas you have this really hot drought going on in the midsection of the country, and wrapping around that big, hot, dry middle of the country has been showers and thunderstorms that have been coming into the Northeast. So we've been seeing some things like tornadoes that we have not seen, in an 80-year period. The last time we had a tornado, which hit Brooklyn, New York, just a couple of years ago, was 80 years ago. So we don't have a big frequency of tornadoes hitting in the urban areas of New York City. Now, we're going to get that occasionally because the type of air mass that comes from Canada collides with the warm moisture off the Atlantic, and we get a few of those. They're not as severe as in the midsection of the country because we don't have the flat land, the flat topography that really heats up during the day and builds these towering cumulus clouds into the upper atmosphere, creating these violent winds, big hailstones of golf ball to baseball size, and then, of course, tornadoes that could range from an EF0 to an EF5. An EF5 would be a mile-wide tornado. We don't get those in the Northeast. We get about an EF0 at best. But in an area that's so densely populated like we have here in the tri-state area and the northeast of New England, that could cause a lot of damage when you're so tightly packed in some of these urban areas of the northeast. So we're seeing that same weather type of climatology as we've seen in the Midwest and the western states back in the 30s and 40s here in our area. And like I said, a lot of it has to do with geography. The Tornado Alley is really the hot spot right now.
So, Bill, when we see you on television and you're issuing a tornado warning, what is it that we need to do at home? What can we do to prepare for such an event?
Well, that's a great question. You know, in our area, the best thing to do is go into the bathroom, go into an inner hallway, go into a closet. You want to be away from windows. You don't want to open the windows. There's always been that huge urban myth that, you know, if you want to equalize pressure in the home, you open the windows. And, you know, that's just not true. All that's going to do is get wind into your home and damage, and you're going to get your floor wet from the rain. You want to keep the windows shut. You want to go into an inner hallway where the walls are pretty close together. And that way, in the home, if a tornado is nearby or strikes into the neighborhood, generally what happens is tornadoes, the winds lift the roof on a structure just enough that it drops the roof back onto the structure and the home or the building collapses. If you're in an area where the walls are close together, that roof won't collapse in on you. So that's why we always say inner hallway, bathroom, closet. Those are the best places to be.
Bill, we need to take a break. When we return, we will continue our discussion with meteorologist Bill Evans. This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide the information that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Use the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and our guest today is meteorologist and author Bill Evans. Bill, before break, we were talking about tornadoes, and I'd like to switch to another weather event. Here in the Northeast, we were hit hard last year by Hurricane Irene. I saw the devastation firsthand. We put together a team of people, and we went door to door to help those that were affected. What can people do to minimize the type of damage that occurred last year and to be prepared for a hurricane? What type of emergency kit do we need?
Well, first thing you need to do is to have a plan. And you need to figure out that plan. That plan needs to be based on where you live. If you live in the hills of New Jersey, that's going to be a different plan from somebody who lives at the Jersey Shore. You need to figure out what your elevation is where you live in terms of flooding. You need to kind of compare your weather to weather you've had in the past where you've had 4 or 5 inches of rain. What did that do to your home? Did that flood your basement? Did that flood your home? Where are you in a proximity to the wind? How many windows in your home? How big are those windows? So you need to make an assessment like that, and then you need to come up with a plan. That plan would have this: am I going to stay, or am I going to evacuate? If you're at the Jersey Shore, you got a storm coming up the coast, or you're looking at a storm coming from east to west to a direct hit at the Jersey Shore, you're going to want to evacuate. If you're living in central and northern New Jersey, inland, say 75, 80 miles, you probably want to stay at your home. So you're going to have to board up windows, make sure you got a generator, make sure you got flashlights, water, food, this sort of thing, and plan on the power being out for quite a while. So if you're going to stay, you need to pack yourself an emergency kit. You need to have plenty of water, batteries, flashlights. You need to go to the bank and get cash. Remember, the power is going to be out. You'll want to gas up your car. You'll want to put gas in reserve storage containers. You'll want to make sure that you have plenty of food. You've got to make sure that maybe you want to have a generator. You're going to have to plan on having ice because these things take place at times where there's extreme heat and your air conditioning is going to go out. So with the power being out, you have to make plans for that. Possibly you want to purchase a generator and have that ready to go and know what to do with a generator. You don't want to put a generator in a confined space and let that carbon monoxide seep into the home. You want to keep the generator outside. Maybe you only want to just generate one room for electricity. So if you're going to stay, then you're going to have to do those things. If you're going to evacuate, you're going to have to plan to have what's called a go kit. And in the go kit, you're going to have all your important papers that you need to keep with you, and you have to evacuate to another location. You're going to want the property and deed to your home. You're going to want all your bank records. You're going to want to take anything on paper that's of value to you, passports, driver's licenses, credit cards, all these things. You're going to want to do the same thing. Go to the bank and get cash. Fill your car with gasoline. You're going going to make sure you need clothes. You're going to have to take care of kids, babies, that sort of thing. You're going to need formula. You're going to have to make this plan for an evacuation and, plan on being maybe away a week at a time, depending on whether or not you can get back into your neighborhood. It also depends on where you live as to what type of damage that you incur. From a hurricane like Irene, that storm went south-north. So along the Jersey Shore and inland, mostly what the damage was tree damage. Winds knocked down trees. There was flooding from heavy rain. Most of the problems that we have in New Jersey are caused from freshwater inland flooding. That means the rain from the storm fills up creeks and streams, and that happens very quickly in New Jersey because of the geography. So you're going to be seeing flooding faster than any other part of New York or Long Island or Connecticut because of the geography of Jersey. These streams and creeks are very shallow. They fill up very fast. So a lot of our damage is from wind, knocking down trees and power lines, to freshwater inland flooding. And then, of course, we have some storm surge issues if you live right at the Jersey Shore or in and around the urban areas of New Jersey, Essex, Hudson, Union County. And that's where most of our damage comes from. Now, if you're right at the Jersey Shore, it's going to be a direct hit. Then our damage is going to be from storm surge. The Outer Banks, say Barnegat, or out toward the outer shores or the inner Back Bay areas. Those are going to be impacted by storm surge, and that could be as much of a Category 3 storm as 18 to 20 feet high. So you're definitely going to have to evacuate and carry all your personal belongings with you and plan on being away for a couple of weeks. Also, you're going to have to count on being the power out, and most power outages, Long Island says that in a Category 3 hurricane, their power will be out at least 30 days. I would count on more. In New Jersey, it's probably 30 days and less. We had 2 weeks out at my home in Connecticut. So you got to count on being the power out, and those plans depend on where you are. So the thing to do is to have a plan, Joan, make that plan, put it in a folder, file it away, so that when the storm is coming, you have that plan already, and you can pull it out, and you can execute that plan. It's too late to make a plan when the storm is coming because these storms race very fast once they get to North Carolina. They start racing toward New Jersey and the New York City area at 45 miles an hour. And so the call for evacuations goes out about 48 hours ahead of time, which Mayor Bloomberg did in the case of Irene. Because the storm is racing northward so fast, it takes a lot of time to evacuate people from the shore areas. So have a plan, put it away. When the storm's coming, you'll be ready to go.
Bill, your book, It's Raining Fish and Spiders, is filled with fun facts, and I want to put you in the hot seat for a minute because these are some things that I've always wanted to know. First, why do we have thunder during a snowstorm?
Well, you can have what's called thunder snow, and it's just the total temperature opposite of having a thunderstorm in the summertime. The atmosphere is so cold and unstable inside of a big blizzard or a nor'easter that you get thunder and lightning. You hear the thunder, you see the lightning. So it's just the total opposite of the temperature of a thunderstorm. The temperature of a thunderstorm is going to be 80, 90 degrees, and then you get this volatility and wind and blowing all that, and that wind blowing inside the thunderstorm creates, the lightning and the thunder. Well, you get the same thing in a blizzard. You're going to have the winds blowing, you're going to have the energy flowing, you're just going to have colder temperatures, and the temperature extremes of when the blizzard starts and the cold air and the snow crushing down in the cold atmosphere creates the thunder and lightning, which is really amazing to see. We've had a lot of thunder snow here. 2 years ago, we had a lot of thunder snow, and 3 years ago. Last winter was very mild. The winter before that, we had 83 inches of snow. So we had lots of opportunities for lots of crashing snow coming down and creating that thunder snow.
Bill, what's the difference between hail, sleet, and freezing rain? It all looks the same to me.
Piece of cake. Hail is in the summertime. Sleet is in the wintertime. Freezing rain takes place when you have snow that falls in the atmosphere. There's a middle layer in the atmosphere that is warm, above 32 degrees, and that creates rain. Once that rain falls, it falls down to the surface, and if the surface temperature at the ground is at 32 degrees and below that rain that falls sticks to surfaces like power lines, tree limbs, homes. You get these icicles. That's called freezing rain, and that's probably one of the most dangerous forms of winter precipitation because once that rain starts falling on these frozen surfaces, it coats them, and when it coats them so heavy with ice that it breaks all these tree limbs and power lines and roadways are coated with ice, makes it very dangerous to travel, and it also limits travel, too, and it knocks the power out everywhere.
Bill, where's the coldest place on Earth? We're told that it's not where we think it is.
Well, there's several cold places on Earth, but mostly they're found in cities in Alaska, believe it or not. I think most people think it's probably up and around Siberia and that sort of thing. But there are a lot of cities around Alaska that have some of the coldest temperatures, year-round. based cold temperatures, based on like their mean temperature all year round is so cold. Barrow, Alaska is one, several other places like that. But yeah, you would think it's going to be Antarctica or Siberia, but it's not.
What are some fun facts that you want to share that you find interesting?
Well, I think lightning is one of the most wonderful wonders of nature that you can figure out. And in my book, It's Raining Fish and Spiders, you can see and read the real story from Ben Franklin as he wrote it himself, his account of discovering electricity properties inside of lightning. Lightning is, a brilliant bolt of energy. There's 26 different kinds of lightning. There's heat lightning, there's up lightning, down lightning, bald lightning, St. Elmo's fire, which is found around the eye of a hurricane. It dances on the wingtips of aircraft and also at the top of masts of ships. But lightning is this brilliant bolt and column of energy that looks like it's the size of city blocks that comes from the sky. It has 1 billion volts of energy. But you know what? Lightning is only the size of your pencil. But it's amazing. You can take a bolt of lightning and you can power the United States for a whole week with just one bolt of lightning. So I think lightning is a very amazing, wonderful thing to watch. And, of course, you have to be very careful with lightning. There's another great story in my book about the guy who got hit by lightning the most times. Gary O'Sullivan, he got hit by lightning 8 times and lived. He lived to be the ripe old age of 88 years old. So there's lots of fun facts in the book. And the nice thing about It's Raining Fish and Spiders is that you can open that book to any chapter, and you just open the book and see a headline and start reading. You don't read it front to back. It's got experiments in the book for kids that can make tornadoes, that can make it rain. There's lesson plans for teachers in classrooms. It's a perfect school fair book. It's a perfect book for kids to learn and get excited about weather as we really entertain the kids and make it funny. I tell stories about flying through hurricanes, chasing tornadoes, and being at Mount Washington in New Hampshire when it was 60 degrees below and 120-mile-an-hour winds. And we did silly things like throw hot coffee up into the air, and you find out what happens when that took place. And that's what makes the book entertaining, is it's very fun and very educational.
Bill, where can our listeners go to get more information about your book, It's Raining Fish and Spiders?
You can go to Amazon.com, and you can go to BarnesandNoble.com. You can go to Tor Forge. The publisher of the book is Macmillan. You can go to Tor Forge and pick that book up. But Amazon.com, I have an author's page. You can read about It's Raining Fish and Spiders. You can read the reviews about the book. It has 5-star reviews. It's been number one on Amazon for quite a while now in the children's science division of Amazon.com. And you can go to your local bookstore and pick that up, as well as it's on the Nook and the Kindle.
And as always, our listeners can get more information on our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows as podcasts, read the digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, take part in our book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Bill, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. We've been talking about the weather, but I want our listeners to also focus on the way that you've conducted your life and your life philosophy. I mean, just imagine how happy everyone would be if we hadn't had a bad day since the doctor slapped us on the behind.
Thanks, Joan. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.